Welcome back to another episode of Alberta Prepper. On today's episode, we're going to go more into the prepping area. The reason why I got into prepping was two things. First off was the fact that I found that work wasn't always there. There were times in my life where I had nothing. Like I said earlier in another one, that I was extremely not poor, but not self-sufficient enough. And I realized that at that point, I needed to do something different. What it was, I didn't know. I didn't know what you would call it. I didn't even know how to really do it. And one day I kind of went out, and my aunt was saying to me one time, she goes, "Those are really nice pants that you have." And I said, "Oh, thank you very much." She goes, "Did you buy a few pairs?" I go, "No, why would I buy a few pairs of the same pants? I got this pair and that's good." And she goes, "Well, what if they wear out? Where are you going to get those kinds of pants that look so good on you?" And I said, "Well, I just go back to the store." And she goes, "What if they're out? What if they don't have that size anymore?" And I went, I don't know. I guess I just get different pants. They may not look as nice, but at least I have pants." And I thought to myself, that was kind of a weird thought in my mind, not hers, mine. Why wouldn't I want to have backups? What if, because of what I did back then? Like I said, I did a lot of part time jobs besides my main job, working in warehouses, cleaning griddles, stuff like that. I destroyed tons of great clothes cleaning griddles. Hundreds of dollars worth of clothes were destroyed because I was cleaning griddles day after day. Trust me, there's nothing worse than cleaning griddles. Well, probably clearing the sewers or other stuff like that, but same idea. There were times where I'd get off of work cleaning griddles and I'd have to get on the bus, and the bus drivers would deny me access to the bus because they'd be like, "You are way too dirty for me to allow you onto this bus." I'm like, "I gotta get home." I'd walk home. So that was my first foray into that. Now, to understand where my aunt came from, she was from the quiet generation. She was born in 35. Yeah, 35. And my mom was born in 32. The rest of my family were in the 20s and teens, and a couple were in the aughts of 1900s, that is. And they had a different mindset because they had gone through the Great Depression. They were of the mindset that things can get really bad when you least suspect it, so you better be ready for it. That doesn't mean that you build bunkers or assume that the world's going to disappear tomorrow. It means that be ready for your own personal SHTF. Because the smallest thing can destroy you. But you need to be ready for it. Mentally, as much is the most important part of it. Financially is near the bottom. I know a lot of people think that financial is up near the top, but truthfully, it's not. You can do an awful lot with very little in this world. You can still do an awful lot with very little in this world. What you can't do in this world is rely on others or rely on yourself. You have to rely on your willingness to keep yourself going. And that's the hardest part. When all hell breaks loose and there's nothing left in your life, when you lose a family member like I did, my mom, and then a few years later my dad, and you're young and you have nothing, and you're willing to die, that mental state can destroy you. And it can destroy you faster than any lack of money can do, or lack of food. Because I can tell you right now, you can find food, free food. It's not just soup kitchens and stuff like that. I mean, there are lots of places like bakeries, grocery stores that throw out food on a regular basis. You can pick up some of that stuff that's in the garbage and have yourself a meal. The fact is that if you don't have the mental ability, mental stability, the strength, SHTF could be the end of you, even if it's just the lights going out. Too often, I listen to preppers and economic people talk about, oh, you need to have this, you need to have that. No. You need to have your mind. You need to have your ability to say, it's okay. I can make it through. When you're at that point where you don't care if you live or die, there needs to be something in the back of your head that says, it's okay, buddy. You can make it through. When the government says to you, oh, no, you're a guy, you ain't getting welfare, or you ain't getting any emergency money. There's got to be something in the back of your head that says, that's okay. I can do this. When you lose your job, you lose your mind, you lose everything around you, family, friends, acquaintances, your health. There has to be something in the back of your head that says, it's okay. You can do this. That's fine. And that's what's missing in most people. That's why it's not about succeeding, it's about living. It's why they don't live. There's nothing wrong with having bad days. I have them even to this day. Last night I had a really bad day. But you know what I said in the back of my head? It's okay. Don't worry about it. You can make it. It's all good. Don't be afraid. You will be okay. When I hear someone say, we gotta take the hill, I go, great. But guess what? Johnny's in the back, ready to put himself out. I don't care about that hill right now. I care about Johnny. I want Johnny to be able to make that hill. Eventually. Or Mary, or Sue, or George, or whoever it is. People spend so much time worrying about money, survival, all that stuff. I'm going to tell you something, a little secret. You're here because your ancestors survived. My ancestors were slaves. They survived. My ancestors were serfs. They survived. Our ancestors came from some of the most horrible situations this world could ever have happen, and they survived. The fact that we think that we're in some kind of special situation is what's creating an issue that's beyond rationality. We survive because we want to. The question is, do you want to? Do you want to survive? Yeah. Then just survive. Don't be afraid. Yes, it's going to be tough. Yes, there are going to be some bumps and bruises. Yes, it's going to be long hours. Yes, there's going to be some scary moments. But you will survive. But how do you make things a little bit easier? You prepare for things. If you don't have a lot of money, or a lot of time, oops, that was a bad on my part. Being over 6 feet, you sometimes kick things by accidents. Now back on track. You will find that things change up a bit. How do you survive? That's the question. So, for me, I looked at it like this. When I was at my lowest, I was on my moment of who cared if I lived or died. When I didn't care about how I lived. When I didn't care if I lived. I went and I said, okay, fine. What are you going to do about it? And the funny part was, at the time I was sitting there and the movie The Shawshank Redemption kicked in. And I was like, kicked on TV. And I was like, huh? It wasn't in the schedule, but it showed up. And it got to the scene where Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman are sitting there and goes, you either get busy living or you get busy dying. Make your choice. And I was like sitting there, and it was the first time that statement actually kicked into me. And I realized I wasn't getting busy doing either. I didn't want to die. And I sure as hell wasn't excited about living. I was in that middle land. And that middle land ain't the place for you. That place needs to go. And the others, and the ready to die land needs to go too. It's okay not to be afraid to die. That's different. But being afraid to live, that's bad. So I went out, started doing little things. I bought a little extra food. I bought a little extra clothing. I bought a little extra bit of medicines here and there. I started buying books. Started reading those kind of books. Started putting away a little bit of silver. Couldn't afford gold. I had sold off my gold because I had gotten so financially bad that I had to sell my gold to actually pay my rent at the time, which I don't regret because that's what it was there for. I regret the fact of how it went down, but I don't regret the fact that I did that. And I started buying silver, buying a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Nothing major. Just enough to cover things if things went wrong. As the years went on, and 2008 kicked in, I realized that there were issues that I was missing out on. I had a family. 2008 devastated me financially again, but not to the point where I needed to sell off my silver to pay things, but it made things a little bit tighter. And that's when I realized that I wasn't living within my means. I was living outside of those means. I had gone into bankruptcy, which, it is what it is. And I had learned that I wasn't as secure in myself as I thought I was. I went into another depression, but not the same as when my mom died, but a depression itself. And I learned something about myself again. There was that little me inside me going, "It's okay, buddy. You know what you do. You go out there and you do what you need to do." Like I said. So as time went on and things got better, I set aside more food, more medicine, more supplies, more money, more and more. I wasn't looking at being a multi-millionaire, nor did I want to be. I didn't care about that. I still don't quite care about it in the way that so many people seem to. I look at being financially stable as more important than being so rich that you're as powerful as BlackRock. There's something about that it's not about, if I became that, I would hate it. It's more that I would look at it like, what am I missing? What is it that drives me to be that way? I want to be a good person. And people always say, well, you need money to help people. And I said, yeah, I know. And then I found out you didn't. I found out that you could do an awful lot with very little. You could do so much, just like you can feed yourself with very little. You can feed others with very little. You can house people with very little. You just have to know how. There are tricks out there that the financial gurus never know, because they're going beyond something that's not real. They don't see the world in the aspect of human joy. The most depressed countries in the world are the richest ones. The happiest countries in the world are the poorest ones. Happiness isn't money. Happiness is connection and humanity. The moment you don't have those, it doesn't matter how much money you have, you'll never be happy about it. It doesn't matter how much food you have, you'll never be happy. It's the connections that you have, your family, your friends. Do I have friends? No, but I have more family now. And it wasn't my original family. It was family that I made. My wife, my kids, my in-laws. my friends that I made into my family because they're more important, because we all connect. And then I started learning how to tithe again. And this time I realized it wasn't about giving money to a church. It was about giving money to a community with God's blessing. Doing the work that God had told us to do. I gave a little money here and there. Well, it's not little. With my tithing. But I also gave my time, my effort. When people are in need, I was there to help. When people needed someone to talk to, I was willing to listen. Not because I wanted to have someone one day come to me and listen to me, because I had that time. I had the willingness to do it. I look at life and I say, it's worth something more than just cash. I got tired of, I love having things, but I have a house full of crap that just, it sits there and it mocks me. Goes, hey, look at us. You bought us. Isn't it wonderful? You have this stuff. Wonderful. Now you're somebody. No. You know what my favorite thing is? Sitting at a campsite, roasting a wiener over a fire and putting it into a homemade bun and eating it. That's what brings me joy. And that you don't need to be a millionaire for. Alberta Prepper out.